India took a big leap, I think is historic, on labor governance. After a decade of fragmented 29 different labor laws have now converted into 4 unified labor codes. The Code of on Basis, Industrial Relation Code, Social Security Code, and the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code. This is the largest labor reform in 75 years, reshaping how India works, hires, pays, protect, and regulate its workforces. For the first time, India now has one wage definition for all compliances, one consolidated securities, social security architecture, one structural industrial relation framework, and one integrated safety and working condition regime. And friends, this shift is not merely legislative, it is philosophical also. Because when we talk about the 5 trillion or 10 trillion economy, then you can't build world-class governance on broken compliance foundation. That we have to understand. The compliance foundation has to be strong, and this is in the same direction. It signals India's transition from compliance-heavy, inspector-driven era to digital, transparent, and data-led governance model, which is the reflection of this labor code. It aligns India with global labor standards and with India's ambitions to become 5 and then $10 trillion economy in future. But every major reform brings a duality. Whatever you bring out, something will come. New opportunities, new challenges, and many unanswered questions also. Because challenges, everybody wants status quo. So, and that's why whenever you are doing something, you identified that some unanswered questions are also there. And today our objective is to decode all three clearly and practically: opportunity, challenges, and unanswered questions. These changes mark a historical shift, not only in compliance, but in the philosophy of labor governance. From paper to digital, from confusion to consolidation, from scattered obligation to unified framework, from reactive compliance to proactive workforce governance. But let us be honest, reforms of this scale create both relief and discomfort. Relief because something has now changed in a better way, and discomfort is because I don't want to leave my status quo. So they simplify, but they also restructure, because when you are simplifying something, but you have to follow that. They unify, but they also tighten responsibility. They bring clarity, but they also raise new questions. So today, our key discussion for the webinar will be new compliance duties, immediate action step for employer, impact of cost of company, gig payment and HR policy, industrial relation and dispute management, social security expansion, gig platform and unorganized workers, sector-specific compliance roadmap, manufacturer, service, e-commerce, startup, and MSME. And for this, we have invited none other than our partner, Mr. Anupam Malik. He is head people service of which we call labor law or labor code from corporate profession. Mr. Malik is former and additional labor commissioner of Haryana and also was a member of core team for drafting the new labor code. Post his superannuation, he has been actively advising industry on strategic HR structuring. He is known for successfully handling a complex industrial relation situation in industry. And Mr. Malik, the important thing is that today you will see that today's webinar, we will get lots of questions, and single-handedly he can give answer of all these things with conviction and with effectiveness. And his experience will speak when you will listen to him, that each and every suggestion and solution he is not giving on theoretical basis, but he is giving on the basis of his experience, practical and very effective for everyone who is there today to see this. And I have found very interesting point that he is a solution-oriented bureaucrat, ex-bureaucrat, which is normally you find rare in our industry, in our profession also. I welcome Malik sir for this program, and your knowledge and wisdom and your experience, and you're part of this drafting of codes will helpful to all of us to understand. Then I welcome Nitesh Ratwal. He's Associate Partner, Corporate Affairs and Compliance in Corporate Professional Group. Nitesh is also doing the due diligence, labor law compliances, and various other things he is doing in this. Friends, we are publishing our books also, and our publisher, commercial law publishers, has come out a Bare Act on this, the new labor law and industrial law, and that is available. So anybody wants, he can buy this. They are offering 20% discount on their website, the commerciallawpublishers.com. So you can take this. It is a handy book for everyone today for this particular thing. And because we announced 2 times, one is before the starting of the program. So our knowledge sharing is going on. So our next webinar of 244 will be held on 5th December, Business Valuation and Financial Modeling Synergy, Deal Pricing and Value Assessment. Now, friends, today's program structure is this, that I will give my introduction points on a larger basis. Then Nitesh will tell us the code one by one, and at each point, the Malik sir will give his point that where the problem is and what industry should do and what are the questions people are thinking and doing this. So continuously Nitesh and Malik sir will do, and after that I will do the question answer session when the main part is over, and anybody has any questions you can give. And I remember when we organized this program in 2021, that time Mr. Malik sir, we have received 247 questions and he has given all answer. So we'll try to give answer of all questions and try to do justice. So after this webinar, you all are very, very clear on this. Now, friends, I just want to inform you that in corporate profession, we have Mr. Malik, who is handling this particular things. So we have started this legal, the people's services or labor related consulting. And we are launching the labor code makeover program for a smooth transition. And whatever 4 codes are saying that. So the most important thing is that you have to modify your entire understanding, your entire system, entire wage system and salary and other thing. You have to change, modify various things in all 4 codes. That is called the labor codes makeover, that what is today and what you have to do, and the entire labor law related strategic planning, what you should do, what is the future thing, how you can handle it. That is a strategical part. Malik sir will guide all of you. And for labor law and compliance audit, Nitesh and his team is doing. So you want drafting of a standing order, making a policy, all these things you can do. And the training program, if you want for your organization, for your HR team, for your management, that is also readily available. You can contact. So this is our service which we have already started, but now because labor code was silent, so that's why we were not in a position to do. Now we are doing. Now I'll just give you the few points which are very, very important to make this particular thing very clear. Now I just want to tell what is good in this for industry and good for the labor. Now first is The labor code are fundamentally designed to simplify compliance, promote formalization, increase mobility of workforce, expand social security, improve governance and dispute handling, strengthen workplace safety across India. From industry perspective, it's a single definition of wages. I remember, Malik sir, when we were doing our company secretary course on labor law, company secretary course especially, then we have to read all 29 labor law. And that time, the definition of wages were different in all these laws. And we were making a compilation that here we were writing definition and then different laws and then writing and making it what is the difference in this. And that was a challenging job. And when the examiner was asking, please explain the difference between definition of wages in PF and the ESI. And that was a very struggling period, which we have seen now. The newest generation will get this benefit. Combined returns, that is also because multiple returns in place. Digital register, you can make it not a physical. The streamlined dispute resolution system are major step forwards. That is also one of the major things. Now, from labor perspective, it is a greater coverage under minimum wages. That is one definition. Strengthen safety norms, that is there. Mandatory appointment letter for all. Wider access of PF, ESI, maternity. Recognition of gig and platform workers are historical steps. Now, what is good for industry and what is good for labor? This is the first time India formally brings the future of work, gig, platform, digital, flexible, which converting into the legal framework. That is the most important thing which has taken place. Now, what is the impact of all these things on this? One is unified wage definition, CTC restructure, PF gratuity, that Malik sir will explain to you that this is the most important and complicated thing. The cost will go up and down. Shift of digital compliance, register, return license, stronger safety duties, appointment letter, OSH audit, annual checkup of workers and employee. New IR framework, GRC, strike notice and negotiation. Expanded social security for gig platform and unorganized workers. That is also included in this. Now, impact of employee transparent salary and reduced exploitation, because now you can't do hanky-panky because you were arbitraging the law. Broader PF, ESI maternity coverage, safer workplace and hygienic standard, a stronger grievances mechanism that is for the employee, which they can take advantage of this. Next is the what challenges for industry and what is challenging for labor when the law is passed. For business, the 50% wage definition changes the existing CTC structure for all the entire industry. That is there. And here, Malik sir is the expertise and he can guide today also and future also. The digital inspection will increase, transparency and accountability will go up. Safety and OSH and contract compliance are stricter. Workforce restructuring rules are more system-driven and documented. These are the challenges for the business. Now for labor, formalization increase expectation, but also bring monitoring. Digital compliance demands Aadhaar and data accuracy, and new grievances mechanisms require participation and understanding. So both sides must adopt thoughtfully, not fearfully. That is the meaning and that is the message. Now, friends, dil mange more. And because we all are professional, we understand things that whatever happening, we have to just see that something is missing. So I will take the help of Malik sir and Nitesh that what is missing or whatever the queries of public is there, we will combine it because rule making is going on and it will take shape. So before going, we can suggest them. So now what is good for industry and what is good for labor, which is missing? Number one, no comprehensive national wage grid, because all states are different. All state thinks differently. Some states are bimaru, some states are developing, some states are flourishing, some cities are flourishing. So everywhere the difference will come. Ambiguity on gig platform workers contribution model, that is also require a clarity, and that is also very important because Valuation of gig earning sharing ratio between aggregator and worker, enforcement mechanism is also required. Then limited clarity on inspection come facility function. Now they are saying facilitator, inspector will call facilitator. So the what is the selection criteria? Risk-based inspection should be there. Digital inspection protocol standard format should be there. Otherwise, the inspector Raj will again take over on this. This is a golden chance to remove this. No standard national digital labor portal, one nation, one labor platform they are planning to do. But for registration, licensing, return payment, migrating worker data, PF, ESI, all should come at one place. They are doing this, but when the rule will come, so we are just reacting on the basis of this, that they can include everything. Dispute resolution is still slow and no dedicated labor tribunal yet. So industry relation reforms talk of faster tribunal, consolidation of labor code, and but the infrastructure, staffing, specialization, bench, timeline for disposal are not yet visible. This is defeating ease of doing business, and they have to do this. Then no integration with MSME ease of doing business framework, because MSME all companies have to follow, but MSME, a small company, they are also following the same way the big companies following. That is a challenge. Lack of real interstate migration labor portability, that is also one challenge that has to be very clear. No national safety framework, sector wise should be there, because what is happening, the industry which is in chemical, which is in logistic, which is in hospital, they have a different types of safety they require as compared to trading and e-commerce. No unified contract labor framework across the state, that is also government should bring out. And then gig economy and future of work, work from home is also is not very clear in this aspects. This is the certain things which are there. Next, what further improvement should be included other than this? These are the existing law, but I am suggesting more because it's a time that we should have a national compliance portal integrating all labor laws, single unified labor inspector with risk-based inspection. Now, this is one point where algo-based random selection, graded inspection, and online report uploading should be there. So that way, the inspector or whatever facilitator should be responsible and they will answerable. And digital closure of queries should also be there. And then the time-bound inspection and digital closure of queries should be there. Then GST style monthly and annual master return should be there in place of multiple thing. Fixed form template for standing order HR policy that can leave professional work less. But I think for the country's growth, this is very important. Incentive-based social security for MSME, that is also somewhere should start. National safety grid for industry, that is also required, because safety is also very important, which I have just told you that chemical industry, the labor required more safety than the companies in trading. Unified CTC framework across the state for less litigation. So what you can do, you can make a fix applicable to all state and then flexible at other part. Don't mix up both the things. A 2-year transition support window should be there. So whenever you are doing something, if inspector is coming or facilitator is coming, he should not treat as a violation. He should treat as a handholding he should do. So 2 years transition period should be there. And then the last, formation of National Labor Compliance Council should be there. So regularly you must do something which is related to various other things. Go back, Shivam. And some few other governance point of the code must encourage productivity linked wages, not just minimum wages. India needs future ready labor law for AI, automation, robotics, and platform driven work. Labor code should be mandated to resolve case within 90 days. PFESI registration should be fully Aadhaar linked and automatically updated for payroll system. A national skill grid must be integrated with wage grid for reward higher skills. So friends, if this is happening and these some changes are there, because I told you they'll mange more, we have to be work out and we have to suggest government continuously and this is the efforts. Four labor code is there, but now the future is also there, and you have to take care of the new technology, new things, AI, work from home, various other things. So friends, this is the overview which I have given. Now, I will request Nitesh to decodify the four labor codes, what business HR leader and professional need to know, along with Mr. Anupam Malik sir, with his strategical and experts comment on each aspects. So Nitesh, you start this, and Malik sir will give answer to certain things. So you focus on the law part which is there. Malik sir will explain each and everything to us. So we have a 1 hour complete with us to explain this, and then we'll discuss in the question answer various things are missing. Over to you, Nitesh, and Malik sir, to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Nitesh,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nitesh, I want Malik sir should 5 minutes he can start
Yes.
and tell us. Malik sir, overview, then we will come out one by one.
Thank you so much, Pawanji. This is a wonderful opportunity to interact with so many people, your clients and professionals on your network. It's a wonderful opportunity. And my issue is that not many people know the reason behind the origin of the changes which have been made in the new labor codes. Because I was in the core team, I know the background. In one line, I can say that major changes which have been made are not or just pieces of imagination. They are based on case law. So rest assured that everything is within the scope of the Constitution of India. What we need to do is actually just come into an orderly way to conduct business. After all, we have to grow, and if we grow in an orderly way, we'll grow more. As you said, the growth which the target which has been given by the honorable Prime Minister, and you repeated it, we'll have to go in an orderly manner. So we'll contribute to whatever we can to help people develop and grow. Thank you, Nitesh. You can start.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pawan sir, for inviting me to give my point of view on these recently notified labor codes. First, we'll start with the journey of this code. The journey of the code is already started in the year 2019 when the Lok Sabha passed it, the first wage code, that is on 30th July 2019. And then the other three codes passed by the Lok Sabha. And finally, it was get the assent of the president to make it a act in 2019 and 2020 September. And finally, it is actually published in 2020 in all of these codes. So these codes have a provision that that the central government has the power to notify the section as and when they think fit. In 21st of November, they actually notified all the sections. Some sections were previously notified, were previously implemented. Now on 21st of November 2025, they have covered all the pending provisions and implemented in one go. So there's a overall of this new overall of the all that laws which are actually applicable to all the industries, to all the scheduled industries and all the some of the service sector industries, but not all the industries are covered under the existing labor codes now. And also there's a kind of a dispute arise between various definitions under different labor laws, and also there's a kind of friction between the state and the union when there's implementation of any particular law. So therefore, the union has the central government has notified a labor code, since it is the labor actually covers under the concurrent list of the Constitution of India, where that central government has the power to lay down the labor laws, and the state government can have their own subordinate laws. So on that exercise, the four labor codes have been notified, and these labor code have subsumed or kind of repealed the 29 archaic or British era laws. These laws were as old as in 1923. So these are the codes. First is the new wage code 2019, then the industrial relation code 2020, and then the occupational safety and health code 2020, and the social security code 2020. Anupam sir,
Explain this. Yes, yes.
you want to explain on this? What
You
are the
see,
gaps?
it is
Yeah.
very necessary to understand that this is not a parachuted bunch of laws. The laws have already been there, but the Britishers never enacted these laws for the benefit of the people here or the rights of the workers. They enacted most of the laws only to drive their own ends. For example, 1923, the Workmen Compensation Act. Why? Because they were into in a expansion mode and countrywide network of roads and railways. So they accidents do take place during these activities. So and if there is an accident, the whole thing comes to a halt. So to settle down all these things, the controversy on the event of an accident, they enacted this law so that the workers are satisfied. Similarly, the Trade Union Act is a very critical thing. If the participants look into the background of this law, it was meant to sabotage the textile industry in South India, which the Britishers were unable to compete with. Binny Mills case, if you recall. Similarly, Payment of Wages Act again had, you see, 1936. No connection. If you look at the basic definition of establishment, it is focusing more on transport, the railways, and the uh, waterways. So these laws were not meant for protecting the rights of the workers, but only to serve the economic interest, including undermining the Indian industries. There was subsequent to labor codes involved ad hoc patchwork measures without a after 1947. There were labor movements. The unions were active. They pressed for better laws, and but only on whenever there is a pressure, they would amend the laws. But it was never consonant with the needs of the workers or needs of the industry. Nobody bothered about what the industry feels like and where the working can be enabled. Even after independence, the worst is that each different definition of employee, employer, and wages. Of course, the definitions were different because the objective of each law was different. But somewhere in a practical working of the industry, you will appreciate that we need some consonance and not cross conflict between various laws, because you always cite one law the other in the other litigations and all. So it was necessary to bring consonance and consolidation in the definition and operation of these laws. Okay, next. There was no consonance or focus of the structure of these laws or to practically secure the rights of employers and employers enshrined in the Constitution of India. I'll touch these things individually also. That the basics were not protected. Even the minimum wages. These unions are talking making a lot of noise, but they do not realize that minimum wages even was not protected. Not because of lack of enforcement, but even in the basic structure of the law. And there was never a focus on the needs of the industry or of the working population. Therefore, the present enactment of labor code was a dire need of the society at large, aimed at bringing okay. These words have been said already by Mr. Pawan. The compliance has been essentially provided to be online, transparent. Therefore, the now compliance has become a business. You see, and on the enforcement side, there is another issue: the inspector Raj. When somebody has power, he will misuse it. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. The absoluteness of power had to be cut down and made industry and worker friendly. So this has transparency was the main issue. Payment of wages. Now this.
So I'll take
Huh.
up from here. Under the wage code, four laws, erstwhile, we can now say erstwhile laws has been repealed by this wage code. That is the Payment of Wages, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Bonus and Equal Remuneration Act. These are all part of the Constitution of India, which provides that equal remuneration irrespective of their gender, sex, and all. Now the wage code is applicable to all the industries, including the service sector. Earlier, the payment of wages or minimum wages is applicable to the scheduled industry, which we popularly known as. So it is not covering all the industries. So there is a kind of you can say not a uniformity amongst all the employees working under one society. So in the code, there is a provision that the central government or a union government will have a national level of minimum wages. Okay, so that national level will be the level which is applicable to each and every worker working in India, in the country. And then the respective state government has also have the authority to either give the same remuneration, it is fixed at the national level, or they can fix the remuneration more than that is fixed by the union government. And also there is a scientific way in the law which requires that to determine the minimum wages. I think that is already the minimum wage, the determination factor. There's various committees are formed to actually come out with the minimum wage. Will depends depending upon the standard of living, the inflation and each and everything. They have defined some parameters which includes that cost of living standard, the calorie intake per day, the house rent, fuel, energy, electricity, child education, emergency. So all these things have to be considered while determining the minimum wage. There's also a provision with respect to the deduction from the wages. Existing also there's a provision, but there's a two rates defined under the existing or erstwhile law, which says that deduction can only be limited to 50% of total wages and 75% in some case. Now they have uniformly say ki the deduction can only be limited to 50% of wages. Deduction, there's a exhaustive list of permissible deductions, which includes fine, penalty, deduction due to any damage, loss, due to negligence of the employee. If there is any loan or advance taken from the employer, then that can be deductible. The TDS, the contractual part, or any law requirement to deduct from the salary like PF and ESI contribution, then you can deduct, but deduction cannot be more than 50% of the total wages. And there is a new provision come out in the Bonus Act. If you are convicted, if any employee is convicted under the Sexual Harassment Act or sexual harassment activity, if they are convicted, not the allegation, if they are convicted, then he cannot or he or she cannot claim or bonus act. In fact, the employer can deny the bonus on this ground. The next is there's a new concept called, though it is not a new concept, that your total wages out of the total the remuneration, that 50% shall be your basic and DA. And this is a 50% rule which has come out in this wage code. But if you see, there is already a case law decided by the Supreme Court in the Provident Fund law. They say that your total salary, the allowances of your total salary should not be more than 50%. If those allowances are universally you are paying to all your employees irrespective of their performance, then that total excess allowances more than 50% shall form part of your basic pay. And now the wage code has kind of implement that the case law decided by the Supreme Court. So they have now applied to each and every kind of social security norms. Not only the PF, it is applicable to your bonus, it is applicable to your gratuity, it is applicable everything you are paying to your kind of employees. We can understand this in a better manner
I
with
think
one example.
Nitesh, before this,
Yeah.
Malik sir, you go over to Beck's first slide in this. Sir, now can you explain this because this is the biggest issue and biggest challenge for the industry.
Oh, yes.
So first you
Okay.
explained it, then the example which you people have
Okay,
prepared,
right,
that we
right,
can explain to the.
right. You see, it is very well known to everybody that in private establishments, the only to keep the terminal benefits and other benefits in check, the employers were restricting the basic to 20 to 30% only, 10 to 20% even, so low. And rest of the money was in the form of allowances, which they were not counting for the purpose of bonus or leave encashment or for terminal benefits. Now they have brought down everything to a certain benchmark, that this kind of splitting and depriving the worker of his basic rights will not do. So they fixed it at 50%. The Vivekanand judgment in the case of under the PF law was a wonderful judgment. We look very carefully through that judgment. You will see that they have made it very rational, has been explained very well. So 50% of total wages. Now the implication for the industry is that first of all you bring up the basic to 50% of the whatever the gross salary, and then when you do that, bonus will be payable on that basic. Similarly, overtime calculation will also be on the basis of basic, and gratuity of course will be much higher rate. So unbooked liabilities, in the end I'm going to calculate, talk about this in more detail. Leave encashment I had heard, this is terminal benefits. Now people were workers were allowed, some companies were allowing the workers to accumulate their earned wages beyond any limit. Some were allowing it, like in a government you have 300 earned leave accumulation up to, but in private the limit was 30 days. Sorry. This was giving rise to disputes. And what will be the rate of encashment and how many leave encashments will be permitted? Now, this has capped the whole problem. We are trying to simplify things and cap the disputes which are for no reason, which can be avoided. Those disputes have been capped, they will not occur. When the restriction is that you can't accumulate for more than 30 days in a year, that means if the worker will not be entitled to more than that, so there will be no dispute. Similarly, notice pay. Now, sometimes when a termination takes place, person is thrown out. No notice pay. Now, this has become very simple. Now, challenge and opportunity. Rationalize pay structure and cost of HR. So, this is the challenge, that how will you rationalize? Now, the very important thing which I want to highlight here is that there are the two hallmarks of the working today in the industry. Number one is technology and skills. Do you have a workforce which has technology and skills or not? And how much are you paying? So variable pay has become the norm now, the trend instead of exception. Most of the industries are paying very well and on the basis of incentives. So whether you are getting your cost of working back or not, rationalizing of pay structure is a big challenge and opportunity, and cost of HR, of course, because it's a longer topic on HR, because I've done a lot of research on wages. The cost of HR in normal industry is less than 10%. If it is going beyond, only in typical industry, work intensive industry, it is more than 10%. So, but this has to be rationalized, that unless I am getting return on investment, this doesn't mean anything. Cost of HR is meaningful only when I am getting, if I, the investment on technology, machinery, and all that is very huge, and the workforce is not able to get me back the investment, then there is no use of having any kind of pay structure of fancy structures and all that. So this is a challenge and an opportunity to improve thing and focus on your return on investment. And what is the cost of HR, which will get you back your return on investment. Okay, next.
Yes, sir. But we have also found, sir, in a practical scenario that
Yeah, they
the
show the practical
yeah. So
case study.
one question that there's always a mismatch between the CTC, the company's booking into their books of accounts,
Yes, very
and
important.
how the company is paying to the employee. There's a
I'm very
complete
glad you
mismatch.
raised this issue.
Yeah,
Let us be very frank. C2C, cost to companies, is a commercial terminology. It's an accounting terminology, nothing to do with HR or the labor laws.
correct, sir.
They are talking of CTC, cost to company. They are calculating return on investment and cost to company.
Correct.
This is the accounting terminology and nothing to do with HR. And it is
Hmm.
very common in appointment letters. You see CTC, CTC. This is all humbug. This is wrong. Nothing to do with the law.
Okay.
So the management, that is the challenge, that you have to rationalize and generate trust with the workforce so that they contribute more to the productivity of your and return on investment in the establishment. So
Correct, sir.
that is possible only when you generate trust and stop all these, miscellaneous concepts which are not relevant to rights and
Okay.
responsibilities and the law.
Correct,
So
sir.
CTC, I totally discard this concept as a commercial or a accounting concept and nothing to do with the labor laws.
Correct, sir.
Okay, this is
Hmm.
a wonderful slide you made out.
Sir, tell me, before giving the example,
हाँ जी.
when you are saying CTC will not be legal part, then the companies which are always talking about this, they have to restructure the entire thing now.
They can. That is their free will. Let me give you a small example. I'll take a little bit of time. An IT company was, as it is CTC. So what they did, the blunder was they printed the SCTC on the wage slip. When the Provident Fund inspector asked for the records, he says, okay, this is the CTC. This is the wage slip. He says, okay, this is 12% paid by the deducted from the worker. Where is your 12%? He says, no, this is 12%. No, he says, no. If you are paying this, this is part of the wages. You cannot equalize this 12% provident fund. So that would come to 24%. He says you will have to deposit 24%. Why? Because 12% is the deduction, 12% is your A, but you are wrongly. No, they were in a very bad fix what to say. There was no answer. And the whole thing came out that it was a blunder because they were following the accounting terminology in the HR. Whereas you can't, no, there's no way. How could you pay, deduct 24%, pay 24% as PF? But the confusion was only because they were using a wrong terminology. So here they will have to rationalize that the word used here in the slide is wonderfully said.
So
Rationalize means let us be real, and let there be trust. That let us be a black means black and a white means white. This is what you're going to get, and these are your allowances, these are rights. And if they don't generate trust, they will not be successful in business. Okay, this example is wonderful. Basic wage earlier, say 30 plus HRA allowance, the conveyance allowance. Now these have been specifically excluded from the definition of wage. And special allowance, these are all divisions for no reason. Just to deprive the worker of his benefits under the social security and the gratuity and other bonus, etc. But now in the present law, you see these allowances mean nothing. They will all merge into basic. So 50, suppose this is 50,000 is the basic, add 1 lakh per month, 50% is the basic, and then suppose 30%, 10%, 30%, that comes to 70% as allowances. This will not be part allowances, this will be part of the basic. So the employer isn't going to be a big soup by calculating everything on the basis of this kind of amount. So they must make it transparent and rational. PF
Yeah,
contribution 12%, right? Bonus 20%. This is on the higher side, but normally bonus is not paid on 20%. 8.33 is the minimum, and then you have declared bonus on the basis of the balance sheet. Maternity Benefit Act, then gratuity. Gratuity again will be calculated at 50,000. Now that calculation again goes on to, everything focuses on basic wage. So people have to rationalize and calculate the ultimate implication of whatever they are trying to manipulate. This will get them into more trouble. The Vivekanand judgment in the case of PF was wonderful. It is so explicit and so clear that these kind of manipulations are not possible anymore. Okay, Nitesh, next.
yeah.
Sir, I think this example which is there, the Nitesh, I think this has to be not 70. This
This
has
is
to be
50.
50.
This is to be 50. I
Uh,
think this
so
is a typo
because
error.
because
Yeah.
you were giving salary at 30, 30, 10, 50, 30,
Yeah.
that is the total salary 1 lakh rupee
1 lakh
giving.
rupee.
Okay.
Hmm.
So whatever way you are giving of the total salary,
Yes.
50% will go to the base,
Yes.
and then
And
remaining thing
rest
will be the 50%.
allowance.
Right, right,
And
right.
all these things will be calculated on the basis of
Yeah. Yeah.
50% basis.
50% as
PF
basic wage.
contribution, bonus.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
I think, Malik sir, this is not more simplifier now. Whatever way you give the salary because tax planning, but your way under the tax planning, you cannot curtail the uh, right of the worker. So 50% automatically will be the wage of that person.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, sir. So, but on the hindsight, if you see from the employee's point of view, so the take home salary, what you receive, which you used to receive till the last month, you will be getting from the subsequent months a lesser amount because some part of is actually increased due to PF contribution, and also from the hindsight, from the employer point of view, the gratuity level or a maternity level or a bonus level, there is a cash outflow more in the from the point of view of the
Yes.
employer.
It has not been touched. You see, the terminal benefits and other leave encashment is not touched here.
Yeah,
That is another big amount. You
correct,
see,
sir.
if you calculate casual leave, say seven days in a year, if you calculate earned leave, that is again something like that. You see, and if cost of working, that you see that the whole cost goes up.
Correct,
And
sir.
terminal benefits, in case of termination, the amount is much more.
Okay, so we'll shift it to the next
Okay,
slide.
okay,
So
okay. Shift to the
yeah,
status of inspector.
so
I think
so
Nitesh, there's
yeah,
some people are because the 70,000 they were confused.
Yes.
So that
so it
70,000 should be 50,000.
50,000, 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next slide is with respect to, as you have already, Pawan sir, touched upon in your initial slides,
This is
that the role has been
yes.
changed from inspector to inspector come facilitator. Anupam sir, I just want to know, sir, inspector and the same person becomes a facilitator. I think there's a change in the mindset which needs to inculcate.
You see,
I think the awareness
let us take
program.
it from the public view. People
Okay,
are harassed. Let us be very simple and straight. People are harassed because of Inspector Raj. This has been a bone of contention for the last 3 decades at least. That Inspector Raj band karo. Extortion, money of extortion. There is parallel government running in terms of money. This doesn't work. So it was high time that this was during the tripartite discussions in the Ministry of Labor. They, the employer side said, no, it is not only end of Inspector Art. We need somebody to guide us because things are getting more and more complex. Is he here only to run the stick, simply crack the whip? He should also guide us. If there is any complexity or there is some problem, he has to first guide us. And
correct.
then, not that, no, we'll come to that in a later part.
Yeah.
That's
the
simply coming
Hmm.
inspection and prosecution. This is
Hmm.
a violation, so we prosecute you. No. You will have to explain it that this is your violation, give me time to rectify.
Correct.
So now we have other things also. So
Yes.
facilitator has become a very important part of our new regime. That
So,
inspector will not have a free run to blackmail anyone.
Okay.
correct, sir. Correct, sir.
This
So
is
it
very important.
so I think the benefit should also come when the government or respective government should run the kind of some programs for these inspector to change their mindset from being an inspector and become a facilitator. And
How
also,
can how can dishonest money be a part of his working? This has to stop. You don't need training to understand that you are illegal gratification not to be taken. You can't give any training. This is not part of service.
okay,
We have to stop it. Simple as that. Training means they have to be told how to follow the law, and if there is any problem, then guide the employer to implement the law
okay.
instead of simply cracking the whip and prosecution and prosecution. No, it has to come to an end.
And also there is a provision with
Transparency. Inspection scheme to include web-based inspection.
web-based
If you
inspection.
let us be very frank, we did this many years ago in Haryana. Web-based inspection was a highly successful experiment. The reports are sent online. The inspection list of establishment to be inspected is given sent online to the officers in the field, and the reports are sent online, and the opportunity is given to the employer to rectify whatever the defect or deficiency has been pointed out.
Correct, sir. So
So
in
then
case,
the commutation business was compounding business was not this was an individual initiative of certain state government including Haryana. Now it has become part of the law
correct.
that there will be provision for compounding. If the
Hmm.
employer applies that okay, yes, I admit the fault was there, and I want that this should be compounded, so he will be
Correct.
free, scot free at 50% of the penalty.
Correct, sir.
So
So
these are
in
very good things which have come.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I also, Mitesh, a little bit fast.
Yes, 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 yes. So under now we jump on to the next code, that is Social Security Code. There are
See, this is the
nine.
most sad part. Okay, Nitesh, just speak it
Yeah.
out.
So there is a new terms introduced, that is the career centers, fixed term employment, gig workers and platform workers, home based workers. And there is a one very drastic change in the definition of occupier in case of a company. If it is a company, then you cannot make an independent director as a occupier. We find in many of the companies, some of the independent director agreed to become a occupier. Now that kind of situation will nowhere exist under the Social Security Code. There's a kind of give weightage to the ESI and PF contribution. They fall under the priority payments under IBC law. There is one more provision with respect to gratuity payment, not only to the payroll employees but also to the fixed term employees once they complete their fixed tenure of employment with the particular employer. Now there are different disputes with respect to cases to check whether there is any kind of accident occur during the course of employment. So now it is a very settled law that once you leave the house to join your place of employment or vice versa, that covers, and you meet and you met with an accident during this commutation, then it is covering under a kind of accident which arises out of course of employment. Now since it is a settled law by the Supreme Court, now it has been made part of the code that the commuting distance also cover under the
We'll come to
if
that in the
yeah,
occupational safety code.
yes,
is touching the social security only.
Now the gig workers means a freelancer. So there's many contractor employees who works on a freelance basis. Now we need to check whether moonlighting person also cover under gig workers or not, who are working in the day
That
in
is
one
not,
company.
Mitesh, that is not covered. Moonlighting is illegal. So you can't cover that.
uh, Home-based worker like a maid working in your home. There's a platform worker which includes Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber, and the people associated with urban company. And there's a unorganized worker. Unorganized worker means who work under the unorganized sector means where the social security norms like ESIPF are not applicable. Like for example, you many workers are working in a shop, in a kirana shop. So they are not, these shops are not covered under ESIPF. So the people who are working under that shop will cover under unorganized worker. There's a special provision with respect to social security uh, to every unorganized worker, which includes gig and platform workers. So they provided they must be registered with the Shram Suvidha portal that is managed by Labor Ministry. And also under the code, it is obligation on both the governments to frame the scheme for their policy. In fact, some state governments have formulated it. It includes Karnataka government and also I believe, Rajasthan government has recently come out with some framework for the gig workers. So that scheme shall include their life and disability cover, accident insurance, health, maternity benefits, old age protection, and cash facilities. Since these workers are they have a very stressful job because they need to kind of finish the job within a minute. Otherwise, their kind of salary or kind of commission will be cut. So they are very more prone towards meeting accident, but the employer generally do not cover the accident for these kind of workers. So it is a responsibility for of the government to frame a scheme to ensure their safety security. And there's a provision with respect to the platform aggregators, which under which they need to contribute towards these schemes, to run these schemes. So they require a funding. So the funding will be coming from, though there are other sources, but some part will be covering from these platform aggregators, who under the code it is a proposed that they want to contribute between 1 to 2% of their annual turnover. Let's suppose if Zomato has a kind of a turnover of 8,000 crore, so 1% of 8,000 crore needs to be contributed. It depends upon whatever be the rate implemented by the government, either 1 or 2. So it must be between 1 or 2. So anything you want to, Anupam sir?
I'll just add. I think the corona epidemic made it very clear the difference between social security and insurance. When a person needs a backup in a social living, say education of children or construction of a house, he needs some kind of money and a backup, financial backup, which was not available till now. Insurance doesn't give you all this. So people die. So they had nothing to fall back on. The government had used its powers to allow people to withdraw provident fund, which became a mainstay for so many people. But now it has become a standard feature in the law that social security is a universal right. So now the biggest challenge today is for the unorganized sector. Now, a person who is driving an auto rickshaw or a taxi driver, what is his backup? His financial back, there is no backup. Similarly, if there is a person who is making furniture in isolated locations, or say at a construction site, that is covered by the building and construction workers. But otherwise, a person who is a freelancer, as you use the word, he has no backup. the government is going to come out with schemes to help such workers if they register on the success of such a concept has been proved from the Building and Other Construction Workers Social Security Act, where the construction workers registered and they got a lot of benefit. You can imagine that every construction worker who was registered on the BOCW board got at least 4,000 rupees per month during the lockdown.
Yes.
So that was sufficient to survive a family. So this kind of, you see, so as I said in the very outset, that everybody knows the difference between social security and insurance. Social security is a dire necessity today, complex life, and people need a backup.
Correct, sir.
So these are things which are going to come up. They are yet to materialize actually. Now, gig workers is a very interesting this thing that if you go to numbers, there is a huge number. Now, how
Correct, sir.
about all these couriers delivering goods to your residence? Platform workers still some association with some courier delivering people are in a very bad shape. So they need some cover. So as you pointed out that these all these based platform aggregators will have to contribute to some amount, and then the government will give a matching amount to support such a security cover, social security cover for these workers who are in the unorganized sector. Okay,
Yes, sir. So,
okay.
as per the Niti Aayog report in 2022, I think the gig worker economy will increase to 6.7% of non-agriculture workforce, or if I compare with the total workforce, that around 4.1% of the total workforce in India. That is huge. And if we
Huge.
compare in the numbers, that increases to 2.5 crores till 2030.
Huge. This is huge.
Next, we'll move on to the next code. So these codes subsumed 13 laws, existing laws that includes Factories Act. So there's a kind of proposal with there's a compulsion now. So it's a says that at that central level there must be a constitution of committees that is called occupational health and advisory boards in place of the existing committees. So these are the existing. This code contains existing provisions with respect to occupation safety, health, and working condition of the workers, which includes every sector, irrespective of the nature and number. Uh, this code also requires to take only one registration number instead of six, getting the six numbers, six different numbers. And this code is specifically applicable to all the establishments employing 10 or more workers. So this is the portal where the establishment
let me
need to
tell you.
register. Yeah, please, sir.
You see, now social this occupational safety till now, if you all recall that this was ergonomics was nowhere heard about it. If a person is working in an office and he's not even given good furniture to sit about, and he develops a back problem, an orthopedic problem in the back, there's nobody to hear him out. Now this was the safety, occupational safety was restricted to Factories Act. Now this has become universal right. Occupational safety, health and safety has become a universal right for every parts of working population, whether it is in the commercial side or in the factory manufacturing side. But specific technical this thing demands that uh, factories, manufacturing units having 10 or more employees will have to get them registered. Registration is mandatory everywhere, even a Shops and Commercial Establishment Act, the IT companies, they are also registered under the Shops and Commercial Establishment Act. Now, earlier there were so many registrations. You had a contract labor registration, you had a motor transport, somebody is having five or more workers with their transport of goods and services was going to get a registration separately under Transport Workers Act. Now it is all going to be under one this thing and single registration, and you can ask for the options of various purposes. And the Shram Suvidha portal is giving a very broad structure of this kind of working. But practically, appropriate government is the state government in the case of smaller establishments. You see, there again, occupational, the appropriate government concept is there. The state government will have to develop this kind of portal, and we already have had it in Haryana. So we have a very good experiment. That's how I was able to contribute so much, because we had already done it in Haryana.
Correct,
A
sir.
lot of amendments were already brought out, but working here on and bringing it on the national level was, of course, a very tough job, because there are divergent views. Everybody, employers and employees, unions had their own views. But here we are talking of principle, as Mr. Pawan had said in the initial stage, that there could be divergent views, but basic rights have to be ensured under the constitution. The occupational safety, health and safety has to be ensured. This is a basic right. Okay, like social security has this thing.
Let's
And then people trying to hoodwink the law, as you talked about directors being held responsible for something. No, you just can't put somebody on the news to face the law. The operational director, the managing director will be the occupier. Independent directors cannot be make a scapegoat. So those things are over. Frankly speaking, this matter was already ruled upon by the Supreme Court in the case of uh, that Bhopal gas tragedy. It was very made very easy, that very simple, that who will be the occupier. You can't make somebody an occupier. I mean, just because he's a manager, you can make an occupier. No. And then the people came out with a bypass to hold appoint independent directors as occupiers. Wrong. So law has become very clear. There is no ambiguity now. Next.
correct, sir. There's also a provision that if there's any change in the ownership and management, you need to intimate to the registrar, or you need to update to the Shram Suvidha portal
Yes.
that there's a change. New duties have come up for the employer, that you need to provide annual health examination or free of cost medical test. So, and the provisions with respect to that under the draft rules, which is formulated by central government way back 2020, which restrict that free examination limited to not all the industries are covered, but the industries which are required to do that is limited to factory, mines, and other which are notified by the government. It has to be done within 120 days, and the age must be 45 or more. And one more interesting duty which actually some are doing and some are many of are not doing, like issue of letter of appointment. Sir, if we have seen many industries which are not issuing a letter of appointment, we are talking about the blue collar jobs, particularly. They are just kind of doing their job without having consideration what are their rights, obligations, uh, to what extent I can receive amenities from my employer, the social security norms. It is nowhere. They are just doing the job because the employer has been giving a monthly pay. Now there is a mandate on the part of the employer. They have to give a letter of appointment. In fact, the letter of appointment is also prescribed that you have to mention these parameters in the appointment letter. And for the existing company which is yet to give the appointment letter, under the existing norms, you have a 3 months time to issue appointment letter if you have not done yet.
Grace period.
Yeah, you can say. There's also a requirement that whatever be the basic amenities, health, security, or anything you are giving to your employees or workers, you cannot charge directly or indirectly from the salary or the wages of the employees.
This was a problem because in the Factories Act, some people were charging the workers for this.
Okay,
But now it is not possible.
not
Now it
possible,
has
sir.
become a duty of the employer, a statutory duty of the employer to maintain safety and health of the employees
Correct, sir.
at workplace. Annual health examination is a very important thing.
Hmm.
I
Correct, sir.
have seen myself, there are examples of blood reports in Gurgaon in bundles. That means somebody got the blood testing done of workers, and it was an eye wash, and the agency which conducted it did not deliver it. The employer did not take those things on record, and those reports were thrown on the roadside. That shows the laxity and the loose attitude of employers earlier. Now these things have to be on record. If the record is not maintained, they are going to be in trouble.
Correct, sir. The next is the working hour. I think this has been kind of
Contentious.
this is contentious issue, but because industry has been demanding for so long that we need a flexibility, because in various part of the world, include specifically Chinese and other developing nations, where they have a flexibility in the working hours. Let Now I think the government have heard their voice. They are saying that you can have the flexibility working hours, which can increase up to 12 hours a day or normal working hours, but it cannot breach the 48 hours limit in a week. Yes, sir, please.
Let me explain this. There has been a misconception and misinformation on the media that the working hours have been extended to 12 hours. Wrong. We are signatories to the ILO convention, the convention number one, 8 hours working. So we are not going to violate that. The demand was that, for example, export industry, the IT industry, the call centers, they are going to work as per the timing of the host, the client country,
Customers.
customers. So that was very important, and it was being run, the way it is. But officially, only Haryana was giving proper permission by a legal notification, giving permission for flexible hours of working. But here again, there is a problem that sometimes you need more hours of working. So you can extend it, yes. But the benchmark of 48 hours in a week, as per the ILO convention, will not be violated. That means it comes to a total of 8 hours per day only. So if there is some kind of urgency or necessity to have extended hour in a day or 2 days or 3 days, that is permitted, and without running after the government authority to give permission like we were giving in Haryana. You don't need to seek permission. Now you can do it, you may have your flexible working hours, but you have to maintain that the total number of hours in a week, working hours of work should be maintained, capped at 48 hours. Now, women employment was another very contentious issue. No state was giving a proper permission for ladies to work at night. Now, there was a judgment from the Madras High Court on the basis of which even factories were, whereas Factories Act does not allow ladies to work at night. There was a ruling from the Madras High Court on the basis of which Haryana started giving permission for ladies to work at night. Because we have a lot of export industry and some very sensitive industry, especially in Gurgaon, where you need, ladies to work this very fine work. And if there are large number of ladies and they don't work at night, the shift will go waste. Investment will be a flop. So we gave those permission to the employers to work, let the ladies work at night. But subject to the condition of safety and security, including transportation facility. If anybody wants to understand this, you can go to the Haryana website hrylabor.gov.in and look for notification. There are about 16 terms and conditions which the facilitations which have to be provided to ladies if you let them work, if you make them work in the night shift. So that is very important because a large part of our intelligent population is not allowed to work, not productive. That is the ladies. Now, ladies' rights, the female rights, is a different issue. But here, let us talk of economics. A good population of qualified workforce is not allowed to work is very damaging for the economy. This is a very important thing to bring this in the law. To and instead of running after government offices for permission, the law provides that the women employment is permitted in the night shift and subject to provision of safety and security. The government is yet to come out with this kind of conditions, but we in Haryana already have those 16 conditions which have to be ensured if they are about safety, security, and transportation facility.
Correct, sir. Now
Correct, sir,
we,
but tell
yeah,
me the how the safety of women will be ensured, because in India normally this is happening. So many rape cases, so many
Oh
molestation
yes.
cases. How will you? Because this is a rogue of the.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Very important. Very important. You see, the post law is very much active and in force. That is one thing. But in our instructions in Haryana, we say that the first to be picked up, transport has to be provided by the employer. First to be picked up cannot be a lady. Last to be dropped cannot be a lady. And there has to be a lady assistance on the transport. So again, that the question arises: the lady who is there to guard the other ladies, what about the safety of that lady? So these are issues which have to be addressed. So there are, then say restrooms for ladies in the workplace. That is very important. And
correct.
other things, other conditions are there. About 16 conditions of work which have to be ensured if the ladies have to work, be allowed to work in the night shift. A very exhaustive list.
Correct. Now, move on to the contract labor. I think there is a change where you can a contract labor who provides contract workers to other establishment. So they can have a universal license which is applicable, or you can cover any establishment in any part of the country. Earlier existing, there is only a license on a state specific basis. Now there's a universal license which is applicable. Then you can provide contractual workers to any establishment throughout the country.
They're a
And
very
there's
sensitive issue.
yeah,
I'll come down to that.
yeah, and there's also a special requirement of having the bank guarantee, because it usually happens that contractor, whatever they receive from the principal employer, they generally don't provide full payment to their whatever the wages to their employees who are contractually, or who have been kind of uh, working in other establishment. They are either they receive the less remuneration or less wages, or they cut out in the name of any other in any other name, like deduction and all from the salary. So there's a bank guarantee. Anybody can file a complaint against that contractor, and out of that bank guarantee, it can be invoked in the name of that an aggrieved worker.
Let me touch
They
this.
Yeah, and one more question. Then there is also a requirement to give a experience certificate to that contact labor, because generally there is no provision as of now to give a experience certificate. Now there is experience certificate needs to be given by the contractor to that contact labor. Yes, sir. Please.
We are trying to streamline things. I'll touch this on more detail. You see, more than 50%, even 80 to 90%, even 100% units are running on contract labor, which
Correct,
was
sir.
a very bad practice. Why? Because the regular workers, they are not able to manage, they don't manage properly, and to get rid of their responsibility, they hire contractors, and the contractors, the kind of corruption they make, they don't pay their PF properly, they don't give them ESI as a facility, they don't give them other terms and conditions, statutory conditions like leave, etc., or bonus. So a very important provision has been brought into Occupational Safety Code. Um, Participants must note that there is a section called Section 2P, which defines core functions. Core functions, contract labor is not permitted. Now, this is going to be a very big challenge for the entire industry, because till now they were used to washing their hands and let the dirty thing be done by the contractor workers and they have no responsibility. But now it will not be possible. Why? Because core functions, the very beautiful definition there. What is core function? All this thing as function of the establishment or connected therewith, and a list of exclusion also. So when it is not permitted to engage contract labor in core functions, this is going to hit everybody very hard. Now coming to contract labor, no one's responsibility, everybody's responsibility, no one's responsibility. Contract labor was nobody's responsibility. So neither they had their statutory right, no social security, and no appointment letter, and no experience certificate. So a large part of our skilled workforce was not included as skilled workforce at all. Why? Because they were not given experience certificates. And there is a serious deficiency of skilled workforce in India today. And if you see the data, you will be shocked that there's a big noise about it, but people aren't doing it. Now, this is one patch patchwork which we have done to assuage the problem, reduce the problem by making it statutory that the contractor will have to give the experience certificate, so that at least he has some credit to what to his work, the long years of work he has done with the contractor. At least he can be, because the government is coming up with certification also now. More than that, government is coming out with certification of workers as skilled workers. If they have some experience in a particular field and they are good at work, the government is going to come out with a system of certification of their skills, and they'll be categorized as skilled or non semi skilled or whatever. So this is going to be a very important part of that scheme of enabling workers and making them more better earning hands and more better participation in the industry and contribution to the economy of the country.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Mitesh,
Yes,
Nitesh,
sir.
we have to do fast because there are so many questions.
Yes, sir.
At least so.
There's also provision with respect to getting that third party audit. The scheme may be formulated by the appropriate government. I think the Haryana government has introduced in the past. I think Anupam sir knows about it. And there's a where that audit of the compliance audit of all the labor codes can be done by a third party, and you can submit that report to the department. And there's also a requirement of constitution of safety committee in a company where there's more than 500 workers working in either or one or more of the establishments. There's when the committee recommends anything and the committee constitute a member from each stakeholder, whether it's an employer or employee side or NGO side or a union side, then all the recommendation whatever they give, it has to be implemented by that employer.
Okay, let me make this more clear.
Yeah.
Earlier, the safety committees was an informal, option of the government to constitute some safety council. Some governments did do it, but some governments did not do it. But now, when there is a focus on occupational health and safety on the workplace as a basic right of any working person, employed person, now this is going to be very important. Now technology has gone, come a far distance now, where people don't even know what's happening. So it has become very important to people make the workers as well as the others aware of the dangers of working of a particular establishment. So constitution of safety committee and appointment of safety officers has become mandatory. Earlier it was 500 only, even this is continuing as 500. But now the larger part of making it statutory of having a committee at a state level is going to be very important, because their recommendation cannot be ignored. And the third party audit was very partial. The system of third party was only, some people were competent persons who were auditing only the chain, pulley, pressure vessels. But we know that, as Mr. Pawan said, the chemical industry is so complex, and somewhere there is so much of danger that if we do not consider it, look into it carefully, there could be hazards of a very vast implication. So third party audit has become another thing that you have to, somewhere you are cutting down on inspector Raj. Third party audit is there, some super specialization. The government authorities, the inspectors don't have that knowledge level. So third party audit has become a very important factor now, because even the employer who has invested huge amounts in the machinery wants to know why the accident has taken place despite all the precautions. So a third party audit has become a statutory part. So it's very important and very good provision.
Now we jump on to the last code, that is industry relation code. I think
The most sensitive part.
yeah, most sensitive part. And these code subsumed three erstwhile laws, that is Industrial Dispute Act, Trade Union Act, and the Standing Orders Act. Yes, sir, please.
There is a large workforce, working journalists and sales employees, which have not been considered in this, but by implication, these laws have also been subsumed in the Industrial Relations Code, because they had separate terms and conditions of statutory condition of work. Now they will be regulated by this single IR code, no separate laws. Okay, exhaustive definition. The hallmark, the big thing is that earlier you had working journalist is a different person, and sales employee is a different person, and then you have a workman, you have a supervisor, you have a supervisor capacity, and we were more dependent on case law. Now the definition is so clear. What is a worker? What is an employee? Structured definition of industry includes charitable, excludes. You see, the case law was involving the certain charitable institutions who were doing commercial work also. So the courts came down very heavily. But now, since the government is very heavily dependent on charitable institutions to work to develop the society, it became necessary that charitable institutions be excluded. So the law excludes them in very specific way, and if they are still conducting this thing, it is open to the courts to interpret it. Now, standing orders is a, you see what the company secretaries are doing is a wonderful job. They are talking about governance. In industrial relations, standing orders is governance. But this was an ignored subject, most important and ignored subject. How do you run the establishment? What will be the administration? What will be the norms? What will be the procedures to be followed in working in a establishment? Standing orders. But then it became another loophole that everybody is going for getting things certified. I have been certifying officer since 91 till 2017. It is a very cumbersome job, but now they have made it very simple. That up to 300 workers, they made a single format of standing orders which people will have to follow it. Even if there is a difference in the nature of working, the principle will be followed. So the government of India is coming up with a model standing order. They already come out with it. Now, if the state government want to deviate, they will come out with their own model standing orders. Already did exist in the previous law also, but now it is going to be more elaborate and more specific, because up to 300 workers is a generalization. Beyond 300 workers, which is quite a number, if your the industry, the establishment has a very typical nature of work, where you need, you see, like I'll make it very simple. Talking loudly or roughly in a restaurant means something different. In a IT establishment means different. Or in a hospital, it could be death of a patient. So the indiscipline of simply shouting or talking loudly in a restaurant or in a hospital or in an IT company means entirely different. So you have to distinguish all this, and it is open to the establishment, industrial establishment, to get their standing orders certified for their specific needs. So that is why they have kept it up to less than 300. You don't need to get it certified. You may follow the same, or if you want to get it certified, you can. If you have very specific needs, you have to explain it. That no, we want to still get it certified because we have specific needs. Though we are not covered and we have less than 300 workers, we still want to get it certified. So this is going to be something very specific and very very technical. I have found, personally, I want to comment on this. During my entire career, I have, since I said, have been a certifying officer since 91 to 2017. I have found the company secretaries, wherever they have been functioning, had roles in the HR functioning, they have brought out the best drafting of standing orders. And I have been trying to motivate standing company secretaries to take up this role in a big way, because they are into governance. They understand what is governance. And getting standing orders certified, a little bit of learning of how to do it. And they are the best drafting people. They are most learned people. Their daily work is governance. So anyway, that was standing orders. Coming to promotion of Bible, the hallmark, the biggest pillar of the industrial relation law is that enough of disputes and litigation. Now we need to come down to bipartisan. Okay, let me make it a single line. Do not let a deficiency become a grievance, and a grievance into a complaint, and do not let a complaint become a dispute, and do not let a dispute become an industrial dispute. These are various stages of evolution of a problem, conflict situation. So, at the very outset, this law is revolutionary in bringing in statutory provision of bipartite mechanism of resolution of disputes. It is very essential.
Anupam sir,
Hanji.
we want to make a request that there's a lots of queries
Your
coming
question.
in.
Okay,
We
I'll just
need to
wind
move.
up.
We need to
Time
fast.
limit for raising.
Yes, yeah,
Okay, let me wind up.
yeah, sir.
Earlier, you see, the courts were entertaining disputes. The law was that the authority, the labor commissioner, cannot decide whether the dispute is delayed or not. It will be referred to the labor court, and labor court will decide whether the delay was justified or not. So that resulted in litigation for years and years together, and very belated cases of disputes getting into prolonged litigation. The law has made it very clear. This is again not my imagination or somebody else's imagination. This is based on case law of the Supreme Court, that beyond 2 years, if there is a dispute, no, it will not be entertained.
That will be.
Clarity in structure and functional procedure of industrial tribunals. This was again very fuzzy area. Now it has been, it was, so though the law, Industrial Dispute Act specified the rules of functioning of the labor courts and industrial tribunals, but the industrial tribunals have been made more elaborate and systematic in their structure and functioning in the new law. And in 35 years, 40 years, I have never heard of an arbitration coming to a fruitful end. Arbitration was a farce. There was a provision in the previous law, but now it has become a very structured provision for arbitration of industrial disputes. Now, one very important thing which is not yet defined but has been provided for is worker reskilling fund to be constituted. If some workers are retrenched or terminated or whatever, retrenched specifically, or a unit is closed down, they are given terminal dues like retrenchment compensation, etc. But the employer will have to shell out some money for reskilling also, because we are not looking at the end of the life of a workforce. We have to look at a skilled workforce for which, if there was a reason for shutting down a unit or retrenchment of workers because of lack of skills or some new technology coming in, it is the prerogative and the responsibility of the employer to contribute to the reskilling of the workers. This is a wonderful concept which I've never heard of. Anywhere in the world, you don't have this law. Germany is the only country which is talking about reskilling and training, etc., etc. But this is the law. Though their rules are not clear, how you will constitute this fund, but the provision is there, and definitely we will evolve this also. Now, trade union was a very contentious issue. I have been registered trade union for many, many years and I have faced a lot of litigation on this. The judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court have been brought in that unless you have 10% of workers working in a unit, you can't have roadside unions. So you have to get them registered. Code of discipline for trade union was hitherto only on imagination. Now it has been made statutory. A political fund. The unions were, it was practically Gundaism. That every worker, whoever he contribute, he will have to contribute, and then where that fund is going to be used, it was nothing, no, none of the workers' business. Now it has been made it very clear that a political fund can be created. It is a right, but it is not necessary that every particular worker will contribute. He has to take a specific consent that you contribute to this political fund.
Uh,
Now, next is the negotiating union. This also was, जिसकी भैंसी भैंस जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. अब negotiating union has been made it very defined and very specific in the law.
Sir,
And then recognition also.
Malik sir,
I,
I think these
I
are
think it's all
certain,
right.
sir,
Huh.
because there are 45, 6 questions.
No, no, done,
What,
done.
what I'll suggest, now we have only 20 minutes left with us.
Uh-huh.
So, Nitesh, the
I think we are
anything,
over.
so we can finish the questions first, and then something, because this presentation
Yes,
will
questions will also bring out things, no?
So I will
Yes.
start. Nitesh, any important point in this?
Nothing, sir. In this, nothing, because there is no such operational issue in this IR code. It is
So the
just
challenge
we are
and
talking about the
opportunities are specified
disputes.
below.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever there is a
Challenge and
We will,
dispute.
opportunities
we
are
will
there.
share this presentation to the participant, and
Yeah,
then
sure,
they can
sir.
ask questions. I will ask the questions which is pouring on now.
Yes.
Sir, we have to be, because time is short, so we have to be very, very short answer, and it will cover maximum question. What is the single biggest positive outcome of the 4 Labor Code of India in your opinion?
We are
It is,
focusing on skilled workforce, orderly working, and growth of the economy industry and economy at large.
and also the definition across
That is all
the,
part of the whole thing that we brought it out. But
yeah.
the overall, as Mr. Pawan has said, what is the overall targeting
Hmm.
is we are looking at technology, skills, and economic growth, development of the industry and economic growth.
Okay. Okay, sir. And second, does this reform align India with global labor practice?
Oh, yes, because we are signatory to the International Labour Organization conventions. It has been ensured in all these new labor codes. The ILO has been a partner in drafting all these laws. They have been coordinating with the Ministry of Labor and they have gone through these laws, and it has been discussed over and over again that no convention should be violated. So we are very much at par and conforming to the global standards and the ILO convention in specific.
Okay. Uh, sir, which code will be most challenging to implement? Wage, IR, OSH, and Social Security.
There are different aspects in terms of costing, wage code, in terms of management style, advanced systems of management, IR code, and in terms of working, practical working, the occupational safety code, and on the social side, the occupational, the social security code. That is the attitude. Social security is the attitude everybody must have
Okay.
towards other fellow beings. So these
Okay.
are different perspectives.
Okay. Sir, how should companies handle the 50% wage definition rule?
You see, there's no way out. Sorry to say, the Supreme Court has upheld the 50% code. Earlier, let us be very frank, the chori, the theft was being because of non-provision of social security measures by segregating illegally and irrationally segregating the wages into various parts which had no meaning. Now the whip has been cracked and that 50% had become a benchmark. If you are looking for a way out, there is no way out because the Supreme Court has upheld the in the Vivekanand judgment in the Provident Fund law that it has to be on. So what else is there other than theft of social security and allowances? What else is there? Gratuity is again social security. Terminal dues. What is this? Why do you want to not to give the worker his due while he is leaving the company? Why not give him proper overtime? Why not give him bonus? Why not? So this has to have, we have to come down to certain standards and
Okay.
benchmarks. So 50% basic has to be there.
Okay.
I stand by that.
Okay. Sir, what system must HR redesign immediately?
Number one, better ways of managing people, and that you see that feudal system of behaving on the shop floor, abusive and arbitrary way of management has to go. People have to look for social dialogue and cooperation and coordination between with the workforce for better productivity. We need a better environment, and all management will have to think on those lines to ensure return on its investments. Otherwise, they'll suffer a lot.
Okay. How will social security contribution for gig platform workers?
You see,
This
this
is
is a very
already, yeah, this is discussed with that
Okay, sir,
platform
leave,
aggregators.
leave
Yeah.
this. So I'm coming to the direct questions of the public now. These are the email questions which we have received. Starting, I'm start, uh, the provision for 4-day work week within 48 hours weekly limit implies a 12 hours working day. Will such extended working hour attract overtime payment?
No, no. You see, the total number of hours is 48. Finished. And if they want to reduce the number of days, it doesn't matter.
So it will not overtime payment if
No,
it
no.
is
12
more than
hours a day. 12 4 is 48.
okay. Will the wage code apply to establishment governed under the Shops and Establishment Act AFS? Will 50% wage ceiling apply to corporate sector employee, potentially reducing their take-home salary?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir,
Can state
just it is just for a clarity purpose that Shop and Establishment Act of the state laws will continue. They are not subsumed under these laws.
That will come under the occupational safety code again.
Mhm.
This was a big question from the ILO to the government of India, that in the IT companies there is no social, occupational safety and health provisions. Haryana, I was the one who answered that question, because some of the states do have occupational safety provision in the Shops and Commercial Establishment Act.
okay. Okay.
Generally not.
Nitesh,
Yes.
now, no, now it's a rapid round. We have to just say yes and no, no detailed discussion. Okay.
Okay.
So, sir, can state government continue to prescribe wage structure even when wage are defined under Code of Wage? For example,
No,
Karnataka has fixed a structure with one only basis and DA components.
no, no, they cannot. That is a minimum wage. We are talking about minimum wage.
But additionally, you can do it.
Additionally, you can add to minimum wage whatever, but
Okay.
that
So,
is again
so
subject
there
to
is a
implement.
national minimum wage which
Okay.
cannot be lower
I
than
did not
the.
explain that. Please
Yeah,
let me
sorry.
do. Pawanji, please let me do that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
There was a big question that government of India was recommending base floor level wage, and I was part of the meeting in the National Minimum Wage Advisory Board, and I raised the issue that unless it has a tooth, it means nothing. So this became part of the wage code, that a national floor level wage will be fixed by the government of India, which will override the states, because a lot of states, I will tell you, many states are not fixing minimum wage for, whereas the law says every 5 years revise it. They are not doing it, and their rate of wages is so low that you see, you create wage islands and they cause migration of labor, and these are social problems you are creating. So the government of India accepted this, that okay, we'll have a floor level wage floor level wage rate, which will override the state governments, that if they have a lesser wage, then the floor level wage will prevail. This is how it was done.
Pawan sir, you are on mute.
Is ESIC excluded from the wage definition? Please clarify the relevance of section 26(2) of the wage code.
No, it is not excluded, it is part of the standard direction.
Okay.
permitted statutory deduction.
Okay. Is any kind of variable pay, if paid annually and forming part of CTC, required to be included when applying to 50% basic salary calculation?
No, no,
Yes.
no.
If
The
it is equally payable to every employee, and if it includes in the, if it does not includes in the basic pay, and it and the, all other allowances exceeds the basic by 50%, then it will be
I'll
added
give a
back.
reverse answer on this. I'll give you a exclusive, different answer. In the ESI, if there is a certain payment which is supposed to be given for his in terms of his employment, which is paid after 3 months, then the deduction of ESI is not there. That means on a monthly wage, if there is a standard component of wage, then the ESI is deductible. But
Okay.
if certain amount is paid beyond 3 months, you see the people who are doing and giving incentives, the people who are intelligent enough, they are giving after 3 months with proper consent and coordination with their workers. So that does not attract ESI. Otherwise, it is a statutory deduction permitted under the wage code.
Okay.
Next, sir.
What is the Supreme Court PF judgment relied upon by the government in support of 50% wage norms?
You see, there again, this was the counter allegation that people are evading the payment of social security to the employees. This was the main contention. And for the participants, I would recommend that they read para 14 of the Vivekanand judgment on the PF, which is again very, very ticklish. That says that if there is a certain amount which Nitesh was trying to hint at, that which is standard across all for all employees. If
Okay.
there is a variable component in the wage and is not documented by a variable performance, then that will be part of the basic. Now here a negative question comes that if these such a component which is more than, you see, beyond 50%, will that mean that your basic will become beyond 50%? That is a big question in that, which originates in that para 14. And the participant need to look at it carefully and draft their, make up their wage structure in a way that they don't get in conflict with the law.
Okay. Sir, will the earlier statutory caps such as 15,000 for PF calculation and bonus eligibility for 21,000 continue, or will contribution be calculated on the full 50% CTC?
No, it is 50% CTC.
No, 50
50%
CTC
basic, sorry. I
basic.
don't use the word CTC at all.
Yeah, so we have to remove this word from CTC. We have to say 50% of wage
Basic.
or salary, basic.
Yes.
Will the code on wages apply only to worker earning wage below 15,000 per month?
No, no, no. Everybody. Now
Everybody.
that limit was there in 10,000 rupees and payment of wages. Now it is very sad that once upon a time there the wage limit for coverage under payment of wages, it was 600 rupees. I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. Then that became 1,000 rupees, then became 1,200 rupees. And then it became 2,000 rupees, then it became 6,000 rupees. Now, when the minimum wage is more than that limit, what is the Payment of Wages Act by giving protection to whom? For what? Nothing. It was meaningless. That is why I'm saying it is bloody archaic laws. The Payment of Wages Act meant to protect the wages of the certain section of the society was not giving that protection. The minimum wage was beyond that limit. So then how do I claim? Now that limit has gone. Even if an executive is there who is drawing say 1 lakh salary, he can claim unpaid wages under the Payment of Wages Act. There's no limit on that.
Okay. Okay. Sir, is HRA exempt while calculating wage under the new definition?
Yes, it is not included.
Okay. Now, some question on industrial regulation. How will deemed registration approval work after the amendments? Are the changes on working hours, overtime limits, and penalty structure applicable immediately?
No, union formation nothing to do with working conditions.
Okay.
Union is a trade union act, you see.
Okay. Does overtime apply to all employees regardless of their role or designation?
Yes.
Sir, the managing director also?
Yes, he's an employee if he's an employee.
Okay. So Nitesh, you have to pay me double salary now. Okay. Else, will the liability of the principal employer in case of contract related wage default changes under the new regime?
Sorry,
No,
please say that
sir,
again.
I think the liability shift when the contract fails to pay to their
Okay.
contract employees.
Are there there provisions impacting contract labor and principal employer responsibility, particularly where contract engage fixed term employees?
Oh, fixed term is entirely different from contract labor.
Okay.
Anybody who is working in an establishment is a responsibility of the principal employer. That matter is over now. Everybody has to be, whether it's PF payment, ESI payment, or employment law, occupational safety, it is the responsible of the principal employer.
Okay.
And
Are there
fixed term is an
provisions?
entirely different concept.
Okay. Sir, are there okay. Now some question on code of social security. Should PF ESI now be deposited based on the new age definition from November 25th, or should employer wait for the rules to be notified?
No, I think they should be on the safe side and deposit on the new structure.
But sir,
Because wages definition is taken from the wage code. So
No,
throughout
no,
all,
the Vivekanand judgment has already made it 50%. No, so why are
yes.
we waiting for what rules?
Sir, still many companies are going with the same flow, that 20-30%.
I had a question from a very reputed company. They said
Hmm.
our basic is already more than 50%. So what do we do? Reduce it? Now this is a question which nobody asked on your side. They had asked me earlier before this program. So what will you do? That if the supervisor is having wage structure in a way that his basic is more than 50% of his carry home, what do we do for his contribution and other deductions? I said, okay, you can't reduce it. You can never reduce the wages by any means. So basic will remain basic even if it is higher than 50%. Yes, you can make changes in the provident fund. Yes, that's the later part, because provident fund again has a cap of 15,000, and people beyond 15,000 are even getting the benefit. There are
okay.
people.
Sir, now next is if PF ceiling is 15,000 for mandatory PF deduction will continue to follow even with implementation of wage code where the basic wage is being put on 50% of total remuneration.
Yes, the PF will take a call on this, but ultimately the judgment says, the law says that suppose a person's salary has exceeded 15,000, once a member, always a member. He will continue to be member of the provident fund, and the deductions will have to be made and deposited.
Okay. Under the new wage code, can employer restrict PF contribution to the statutory ceiling of 15th? I think this is already covered. Now, how will gratuity be applied to contractual workers when there are no fixed term employee engaged directly by the organization? If a contract deploy fixed term worker, will the principal employer be liable for gratuity?
I did want some time on this. Fixed term is an entirely different concept and nothing to do with the contract labor. Contract labor is under the Occupational Safety Code defined very clearly that contract labor is not permitted in core functions. Now there is another issue, B2B. If there is a
Yeah.
organization which is supplying contract labor to, say, corporate professionals, and they have their regular employees, and they are giving all the facilities as per law to those employees, then that will be a business to business, providing services, and that contractor will not be covered under the normal contract labor law.
I think the sir question is that whether the if the contractor fails to give gratuity to their employees who are deputed in the principal employer establishment,
Yes.
whether the principal employer is obligated to give this
No,
gratuity
the old
amount.
law, Section 21, did not provide for gratuity, it only provided
Gratuity,
for
it's
liability of the
wages,
wages,
wages only.
not
Yes, sir.
gratuity.
Sir,
Just
no. The answer is no.
no,
Okay.
no, no.
Now the occupational safety under new provision is the existing limit of 30 days for leave carry forward replaced with full encashment beyond the maximum limit. Does this mean unavailed leave will no longer lapse?
No, it will lapse. Beyond 30, you can't carry forward.
Yes.
Okay. Our organization falls under the Punjab shop and establishment with more than 20 employees. what new compliance requirement apply to us after recent amendment?
So they have to
Nothing
comply with the
really.
wage code. Yes.
Under the
It-
wage code, they'll have to restructure and ensure that they follow the 50% basic and all that. And then social security, of course, because 20, they're actually the number of workers is exceeding 20. So they'll have to follow the social security stuff like PF and ESI, and they will have to stick to the structure, wage structure prescribed under the wage code.
Okay. It is mandatory under the Punjab shop and establishment to a welfare society or welfare fund. What are the procedure for compliance requirement? Will the labor code override this requirement?
No, the Labor Welfare Fund is a totally state act and nothing to do with this, and it
Okay.
is an authorized deduction.
Okay. Can an agreement executed with a consultant be considered equivalent to the appointment letter, or must be separate appointment letter be issued?
No, consultant is a consultant. He's a out worker. He's not a employee.
Okay. If a principal employer and contractor are in different state and contractor is over on board from a vendor to whom it's the bank guarantee to be paid, is CLRA registration applicable after this?
No, CLRA is finished, abolished.
Okay. Does contractor bank guarantee affect principal employer?
No.
No, nothing to do with that. It's an individual responsibility of the contractor to, this is for security that if he defaults, that amount will be, confiscated.
Okay.
Confiscated.
Is medical health checkup for the employee mandatory for all kind of industry, and what is the age limit become mandatory for the employer to conduct health checkup?
Everybody is covered. I let me quote here that about 35 years ago, 40 years ago, Microsoft had created something called a mouse. You see, the structure of that mouse was such that the workers had a orthopedic defect in the wrist, and a lady went to the court for damages, and they had to shell out a good lot of amount.
Thank you.
Microsoft had to shell out a lot of amount on damages. But in India, we are not bothered. As I said, I use the word may not have been noticed. Ergonomics were nowhere to be heard about.
Okay.
Sir, under the central draft rules, it is applicable to not all establishment, but of factories, mines, and all. And the age must be beyond 45 years. But that is the draft rule. We do not know to whom they are applicable. Once
Factory
the
Act
final
is the
finalized.
Factory Act and Occupational Safety Code.
Hmm.
These appropriate government is the state government. It is the responsibility of the state government to come out with the rules on the safety.
Okay. Sir, since the labor code have been notified mid-month, how should register form statutory submission be maintained from the transition period? It should not be some cut-off date.
No, it is an end date. I think the government of India is coming out with a clarification as regards these laws and as far as also because of for the rules. They're going to give some time for objection and then implement it.
Okay. If the relevant rules are not yet notified, how can the code legally come into force?
No, the laws from the Supreme Court says very simple that the principle under the Act will prevail. The laws are only about procedures. There are specific provisions in the law where the government, the appropriate government has to specify procedures. In the absence of those procedures, the principle cannot be bypassed.
Okay. If the relevant rules are not yet notified, both the civil wage and labor code provision apply to establishment covered under the Shop and Establishment Act.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
they'll covered. Yes.
Okay. How can employer in organized sector, sir? Because we have already completed time. So now the question what people have asked, we have to give yes and no.
Yes.
Very short, so we can cover. I have 15 question more.
Oh my
How
God.
can employer in the unorganized sector comply with the code? Why not mandate employment only through authorized HR consultant?
No, no. You see, the unorganized sectors are entirely different because there is no specified relationship of employer and employee.
Okay. How do you new labor code affects MSME, startup, gig workers, gig economy, employer regarding compliance readiness?
Let us be very clear, gig economy and the unorganized sector is the social security part, where the government is focusing for their welfare.
Okay.
The MSME is entirely different. They have to, you see, things have been made simplified very well, very easily.
Hmm.
They have to do it online. There is
Okay.
no, separate HR department or HR manager required in MSME.
Okay.
So when things have been made simple, they better comply with it.
Okay.
online.
How are the new labor reforms expected to apply immediately across all state, or will implement depend on individual state notification?
No, I think this is a central legislation, as Mr. Nitish said. This comes under the concurrent list.
Concurrent
The
list.
government of India has, the central government has finalized the notification and implementation of these laws. If there is some state which is coming out with a notification or some kind of amendment or some change, there are two ways. One is the procedures in the rules, the other is they'll come out with a state amendment to these laws. So this is not, is very specific.
Okay. What are the compliance implication for organization with gig and platform workers?
They will have to contribute, they have to plan their expenses in a way that they have to think in terms of social security for their workers. Because when the government comes out with a figure that you have to contribute so much, then they'll have to do it.
And also there is a portal called eShram portal where they can register themselves for
It's
social
already happening
security
actually.
norms.
Okay.
Let us be frank, it's already happening on e-shop.
So,
Yeah.
sir, I'm extending for 15 minutes to cover all my questions. Okay,
Yes.
I will just try to finish it.
Okay.
Will deemed registration, electronic registration, and standardized form be applicable uniformly across state?
Yes, because though it is the appropriate government has to register, but then this cannot be bypassed.
Okay. Sir, if central and state rules are not yet notified, how can the labor code come into effect? Please confirm whether existing law continue until rules are operative. You have given answer.
Yes,
You
already.
should not wait for the rules. Law is applicable, so you have to follow.
Principles are there.
What is the expected timeline for notification and finalization of central rule scheme? Sir, any chance that you have any idea that when the rule will be out?
The rules should be out, in the very near future, and they'll give 2 months time for calling for objections.
Okay. What is the expected, if there any conflict between state labor law and central labor law after 2011-25, which will prevail?
Central laws.
Central law will prevail.
So
Okay.
this is a
Unless there is
concurrent
state
list. Yeah.
amendment.
Okay. Are the labor code likely to apply in phases? Is there a moratorium period for compliance?
No, there is no moratorium period.
All sections
there is
are
a
notified,
demand,
sir.
there is a strong demand that they should be given some time.
Okay.
But the government has not yet come out with that kind of.
Okay. What immediately compliance action are required for shop and establishment to remain fully compliant?
It is very simple. They have to continue to do what they were doing, except that their wage structure has to be there and their social security and other liabilities, like terminal liabilities and all, there, which will actually follow.
Okay. How can unorganized sector employer comply with the codes?
From them,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, that they need to think in terms of their
Sir, your voice is breaking.
you see,
Malik sir, you can
what how they can contribute.
sir, you can switch off your video. Just try. I'm just what immediate, sir. How can unorganized sector employer comply with this code? Will employment through authorized HR
There is a
consultant
phone
become
call. That phone call was disturbing the call.
okay?
Simply plan their costing in a way that they should be prepared to contribute to the social security of their workers.
Okay. What is the
And
retention?
simply washing their hands will not work.
Okay, sir. What is the retention allowance and how should it be treated?
You see, retention allowance is a concept which is a very old concept which came from seasonal factories like sugar mills. And in the off season, the workers were retained by giving some kind of allowance, which was again not wages. It's an allowance. And when the season comes, crushing season comes, the workers are called to run the factory.
Okay.
Then similarly in the cement industry, there was a retention allowance of workers because large amount of casual labor was employed.
Okay.
That's a very, very typical kind of thing which we can discuss separately.
Okay. How can organization educate blue collar workers whose enhanced salary may decrease due to work restructuring, wage restructuring, and who may not understand long-term social security benefit?
You see, social dialogue is the key. I've been working on social dialogue for a long time and I've worked for the ILO also. Social dialogue was my main pillar of writing a paper for the ILO also. They need to take the workers into you see
Confidence.
and explain to them that this is for their benefit. This they are already doing by making quality circles and also all that on the floor. Participation of workers is already there. They just need to add a subject and to tell them that you see this is for their benefit. It's happening already. Those who are very stiff, they will find it difficult.
Sir, just tell, because my system has some problem. The 12 months, the 12 hours period, how you will calculate, sir?
12 hours, you see, again, there is a catch here that even in the present law, the hours of work can be extended to 10 hours. Why? Because you can have a extend the lunch time beyond 30 minutes. So you can extend this lunch time to say 1.5 hours, so that the ultimate conclusion comes to 10 hours.
Okay, okay. What is the impact of annual variable performance pay paid in April 2026 for 25-26 based on performance criteria? How will it affect the definition of wage?
Nothing really.
Okay,
Because as I said, in the ESI, this is already excluded if any amount is paid beyond three months.
okay. Will performance-based variable pay or incentive bonus be excluded from the calculation of 50% ceiling or determined gratuity and leave encashment?
Again, the time of payment of that amount will decide the status of that amount, whether it is a 3 month or 6 month or 1 year. And what is the again? You see, the Supreme Court in the Vivekanand
Okay,
said that the variable pay has to be documented with variable performance.
sir. What component will fall under the definition of wages when salary includes basic HRA, T allowance, transport allowance, and retention allowance?
So we have to
You see, they have
restructure
to look
in
into it.
compliance with the
You have to
50/50 rules.
restructure to conform to the law.
Okay, okay.
As
Sir,
I said, retention allowance is a different subject altogether and very typical to certain industries.
okay. Sir, is bonus now applicable to all employees regardless of salary level up to section
Yes,
26 of
yes,
wage code?
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Is HRA exempt from the wage definition under the 50% rule?
yes,
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
yes.
What will be the impact on PF, ESI, and other social security benefit due to change in wage definition? What will be the applicability of limit? शिवम को बुलाना.
Sir, I think we discussed in this paragraph that if you restructure is 50/50, then the outflow of the PF and ESI contribution will increase.
Okay. What is the overtime calculation method under the labor code? Double the rate of wages plus DA or double the daily basis, daily basis?
Daily basis, basic double.
Okay.
Double of this. Per hour worked.
Okay. Is the code of wage applicable to all employees? These are also done.
Oh, yes.
Please provide detail of citation of this is also done. Why the definition of worker different from the code of wages below 50,000 and OSHW below 18,000?
No. I think there's some mix up.
Okay.
Under the wage code, there is no limit. That limitation concept is gone.
Okay. How will minimum wage fixed by state differ after the labor code and will multiply wage label across state create complexity?
Not really. The minimum wage, there is a very specific system that you have to have area wise, the arduous nature of work. You can have various types. I think that slide is missing from our presentation. There is a method of structuring the minimum wages they have provided in the wage code, which the employers, even in the workers beyond minimum wage, they can structure their wage structure in a manner where the arduousness, the uh, distance of the establishment or other features can be included for calculation of that wage.
Okay. Sir, some question of industrial relation. Are conciliation process under the old Industrial Dispute Act still relevant under the new IR code?
You see, this is a procedure that you have to record some proceedings. You may not. Ultimately, where does it end up? Whether
Okay.
the settlement has been arrived at or not arrived at. If
Okay.
not arrived at, then it will be relevant only in the labor court. That whether a commitment was made or offer was made or not. That's it.
What should industry do regarding contract labor at this stage? Should they bring them on payroll or wait for the notification?
Better would be they should, you see, again I'll focus on skill sets and their screen the workers for their skill sets and qualifications, etc., whether they are able to, they will be useful for the organization and improve the return on investment or not. If the focus is not business, they will perish. Let me be very very sharp on this. Employers must focus, not, you see, this bhed chal is not done. They have to engage workers only if they are skilled. You see, you are having crores worth of machinery, and if you not touch the accident rate, we have a very terrible accident rate in India.
Okay.
If the technology, the complicated machine is being handled by a foolish person who does is not trained, you will ruin the machinery worth crores.
Okay. Sir, are managerial, administrative, and supervisory employee entitled to overtime under Chapter 7 of IR Code?
Yes.
Okay. Will the principal employer liability change where contractor failed to pay workers? How the responsibility defined now?
No, the principal employer is responsible if the contractor does not pay.
They still remain the same.
Okay. Under what condition can contract labor be deployed in a core activity under the IR Code?
Not allowed.
Okay.
There is one exception. Okay, let me say that.
Hmm.
The very typical industry, for example, foundries. Foundries, there are four types of contractors. Let me be very specific on this. They have to prove that this work is typically done by contractors. It is a regular work, core function, but it is done by contractors only. For example, in a foundry, first there is a set of, a contractor comes with a set of workers who make only the sand for creating a cast, and then
Okay.
they put a cast, and then a second set of workers come with a contractor who will put the molten metal in the cast created in the sand. Then the third one comes which going to take it out and then fettling. The third one, fourth one comes with is going to grind it and make it usable. So they have to prove, the employer has to prove that this is typical of a contract labor. For example, again, in the garment industry, a lot of people are from the garment industry in the participants. They have to prove that the order is only for 6 to 8 months. And this is going to be only for, they can appoint fixed term also, and they can appoint contract labor also. And this kind of work is done with a large number of, you see, fabrication labor, which is migrant. Sometimes they come and do a certain job and then go away. So they have to prove to the appropriate government that this is a typical work to be done by contractors only. So they can get the permission for core work, contractor in core work also.
Sir, one very interesting question has come. Press release of Ministry of Labor dated November 21st confirm that the existing labor law will continue to be in force till the central state rules are notified. Government's
Exactly.
view is clear. Labor codes will be implemented only when the central state rules are notified.
Yes.
Need clarity from Mr. Malik's.
Yes, the principles remain the same. The nitty-gritties are there, like for example, wage structure. But the, for example, in Haryana, we already removed the wage limit, which has been there in the wage code. So the principles will apply. The, you see, the record, for example, in the rules, you have provided a format for maintaining records. That cannot be eliminated. You see, the record will continue to be made, but one thing has come in that you have to make it online. In Haryana, a lot of people, most of the good employers are making records online, so not a problem.
Sir, you are mute, sir.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Pawan sir.
Should PF and PSI be calculated as per the new wage definition from November 25th or only after rules are notified?
No, it is applicable from
It is
today.
applicable already.
Will gratuity apply to contractual worker who complete 2.5 years of service? Is there any difference between full-time and contractual employee?
No, no, no. The gratuity is applicable.
Okay.
The law does not distinguish between the two.
For 20 years service, will gratuity be calculated on the basis of DA plus DA or gross salary?
No, basic plus DA.
Okay. What happened to PF ESI coverage if wage exceed currently prescribed limit?
How does it matter? Once a member, always a member.
No. Okay. How are dig, gig, and platform workers expected to be covered under Social Security compliance?
You see that eShram portal is already permitting the workers to deposit certain amount with the PF authorities, and this system is yet to be developed. That if the gig workers, the platform workers, employers are asked to pay a certain amount, then the government intends to invest some amount for providing social security. This is going to be a big change.
But sir, this notification which I am just mentioned press release, by reading this, it is looking like that when the state and central government notified rule, then it will be applicable.
Looks like that, but the principles don't go away. You
So
see, the
that is okay.
record will remain.
No, that is okay. But the
Procedures will remain.
old law you have to follow, but the new law will be applicable when these central.
Specific clauses, sections where the new law prescribes that state government will form draft the rules. That is the only thing which is going to be there later on. Otherwise, everything remains the same.
Okay, last two questions, sir. Where is the provision specified along 12 hours working days and 40 hours weekly working limit? Is the permissible daily limit 8 hours and 12 hours spread over or 12 hours of actual work?
No, no, 12 hours for actual work. The total is weekly 48 hours.
Okay.
That
What
is convention. You see, people don't read. Convention number one, ILO convention number one says 8 hours a day, full stop. Not more than that, which comes to 48 hours in a week. This revolution, the May Day, workers' revolution, what was that? It was not communist countries, please. It was in Philadelphia that the uprising took place, and it was concluded that the hours of work should not exceed 8 hours.
Okay. What if the status of 5-day working under new code are these changes of weekly working hours norms?
No, weekly working, yes. Because you see, we are governed by the convention says 48 hours in a week. So
Okay.
you can divide it.
Okay. Under the new law, labor code, will our regular employees who have completed 1 year of service be eligible for gratuity?
No, that has to be specified whether he is a uh, fixed term employee or not. Now, there was a group in which somebody said, I'm going on the negative side. Somebody says the industry needs skilled workers, and skilled workers are those foreman types. So we'll pick up foreman from small industry and we can run the bigger industry and appoint him as a regular worker on at age 54 or 55 and retire him at 58. Now he's a regular employer, regular worker, but he has not completed 5 years. So at 58 he'll retire and you don't have to pay gratuity. This is a negative side we am giving an answer.
Okay.
So there's also apprehension that your regular workers can be converted into fixed term employment so
No,
that
no,
they
no.
can hire and fire.
Let me point out something very specific.
They are the
Fixed term is a
apprehensions.
very dicey
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
Fixed term cannot be misused because the chapter of unfair labor practice in Schedule 5 in the previous act is now in Schedule 2 of the IR code, in which point 10 says that to appoint workers are casual, badlis, and temporaries for the purpose of depriving them of benefits of long years of service. So it will be unfair labor, they'll get into trouble.
Yes, sir. But there's
Okay.
an
Fixed
apprehension. Yeah.
term appointment cannot be misused.
Sir, last question.
Yes.
If the contract of contractor close after 2 years as per the PO terms condition, then who will pay gratuity to contract workers, company or contractor?
No, 2 years does not call for gratuity. Gratuity is payable after 5 years
No,
But
1 year.
whatever be the dues, it has to be paid by contractor.
by contractor only. But if it is due after 5 years, the worker is 5 years length of service, the contractor will have to pay.
And then what about the new law of 1 year
That is
gratuity?
typical and very, very specific to fixed term employee. that if a person is employed only for a fixed term for a specific purpose, be very clear that you have to, in the appointment letter, you have to specify for what work, which is lasting only 1 year, less than 1 year, that you are appointing the person. And the appointment letter, as why this appointment letter has been brought in, that you have to specify why for what purpose has the worker been appointed, and on what terms and conditions. And if he cross 12 months, he will have to be paid gratuity.
So there's a difference between fixed term employment and the contractor. In fixed term employment, there is no middleman involved. There is no contractor involved. It is just one to one.
Direct employment.
Yeah, it is a term employment. Let's suppose you have a assignment and you do not have any skilled workers in your organization. Then you hire me for a fixed period. Let's suppose 2 years.
The law is focusing on flexible working of an industry and giving them facilitation to cater to, you see, the export market and other things where the uncertainty of the market does not let them go for a long way. It can end in, you see, the business can end in 6 months. Can do
Okay.
nothing.
Okay. Sir, we have covered more than 100 questions.
Okay.
And
Great.
the last question which has come, that is also the comment has come delivered, talks nicely with the depth of knowledge for you, sir, as usual.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
it's a time to close, sir. So just 30-second your closing remarks, sir.
I'm indeed grateful that you have taken up this very sensitive subject and taking it up. You are nurturing the subject as even as your, you see, on professional level. This must get you into. You see, our existing clients will get a lot of benefit out of this, and the number of people who have participated in your webinar, this is going to multiply further. You see, sharing ideas, sharing knowledge is a divine role. So I would like to say that you have done a divine job by sharing knowledge through this webinar. And you have a lot of patience on, you see, faster finger first, and you know that press button question types.
Yeah. Okay. Still, I am receiving questions, but these questions I'll give answer separately now. So, friends, it's a time to close the unified impact and perfect conclusion. So, we have done the survey also. How familiar are you with the 4 lever code? 68% said very familiar, 15%, 29 moderate, basic understanding 39, not familiar 17%. I hope after the webinar, more people will be on this. Next question.
Yes.
Next poll. How you started preparing to implement in your organization? Yes, 31%, partially 22, not yet 35, not applicable. So 35 people not yet started. Please do it because it's very complicated and it will impact the wallet of the company. What size of your organization? Those who have attended, more than 500 people attended, 550 people. So they are saying 21% less than 50, around 50, 51 to 250, 26, 51, 251 to 1000, 27, and 1000 plus 25%. Very high number. What extent do you think a labor code will improve ease of doing business in India? 39 significant, moderate improvement 47, little improvement 11, and no improvement 3. So I think the majority people are saying it will be more improvement. So friends, thank you very much for all esteemed speakers and my panelists for this insightful, balanced discussion which has taken place. The 4 lever code are not just legal reform; they are a structural transformation of India's labor ecosystem, and they consolidated complexity, digitize governance, strengthening workers' participation, and create long-term predictability for the industry. That is the crux of this. Our key takeaway today is very clear. Reforms succeed not when law are passed, but when organizations implement them with discipline, documentation, and with digital readiness. So we have to be ready and we have to work out. The code create enormous opportunity through unified ways restructuring, broader social security, transparent dispute mechanism, digitalized compliance, and safer workplace. These are the main thing. But they also demand CTC restructuring, HR policy revision, safety compliances, data accuracy, and contractors monitoring. that is also, and technological adoption. These are the requirement you have to do. The success of these reforms will depend upon how industry, HR professional, policymaker work together to balance efficiency with perfection. Here, the corporate professional will continue to support organization through sharing knowledge and giving advice through our special division of the people's law, that is a labor law, and Anupam sir is heading that. So we are doing this labor code readiness audit, wage code restructuring, OSH and safety audits, digital compliance and register, standing order and HR policy building, contractor compliance review, and gig platform workers restructuring and structuring. So that is
Wonderful.
work which we are doing, and Mr. Malik is providing strategic support for this work, and the team is doing and ready for this. So thank you for joining this 243rd webinar of CP. We look forward to welcome you our next webinar on 5th December on valuation and the deal transactions, how the valuation is taking place. So till then, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, and congratulations for this successful webinar.